special to me. It's still a community I'm involved in. It's still a community my parents live in. So it's always had a special place in my heart. And when the job opened up again, I had to take the chance to do it. And I'm glad I have.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Talk of Elevation. I'm Michaela, and today joined with me is Ben Owens, head varsity baseball coach at Northwood High School in Irvine, California. A former Northwood player himself, Coach Owens has returned to lead the program and build something special both on and off the field. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Coach, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start at the very beginning. How did you first fall in love with baseball, and what made you fall in love with the game?
Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty interesting young life. My father and my godfather were part of the Dodgers organization. I grew up at Dodger Stadium pretty much. And in my early teens, my dad decided to run a Dodger experience. So I was up there once a week, kind of being around the players in the game and things like that really drove me to continue my playing career, which obviously I did. But my passion really comes from my dad. My dad really loved the game, and he coached me all the way up until high school. And then obviously when my skills became a little bit too far advanced for him, he had to pass me off to an actual guy that could still throw and catch and all that other fun stuff. So that's really where my passion comes from. The coaching side of things, it just kind of fell into my lap. I played in college, and when I realized I wasn't going to go anywhere anymore, it was find a job, and the only thing I knew was baseball. And here I am, just finished my 16th year of coaching already, which is a scary thought.
Yes, a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So let's talk about where you're coaching now. What does it
Mhm.
feel like to come back and have this homecoming and coach where you played in school?
Yeah, still surreal. Just finished year 2, and it still feels like I should be the one taking the directions, not the one giving the directions. Especially with an assistant coach who's been there since I went to school there. My previous head coach was coaching with me for the last year and a half. So those two things are really, really weird to me. But I look at a place like Northwood, and it's special to me. It's still a community I'm involved in. It's still a community my parents live in. So it's always had a special place in my heart. And when the job opened up again, I had to take the chance to do it. And I'm glad I have. We've had some pretty good success in the first 2 years here. And hopefully we can kind of continue on that upward trend of just kind of making everything a little bit better over there, which is my ultimate goal for these kids.
Yeah, so you emphasize accountability and team first culture. How do you instill those values in student athletes today?
Yeah, sometimes, we get lost as coaches in the fact that, we have to dictate everything. We have a set of rules and guidelines that, all our players are held accountable to. And I really look at my senior group as the ones that kind of do a lot of that accountability holding. It's not so much me. The reason I put it on the seniors, it's a little bit different to hear it from your peers as opposed to an adult. So for me, it is, here's what we're trying to accomplish. You guys need to hold each other accountable to that standard. And obviously, when those older upperclassmen, senior guys aren't held to that standard themselves, then I check them as well. So it's not just, hey, they do whatever they want and there's no repercussions to their actions. No, there are 100%. But more often than not for us, it's how do the kids kind of interact with one another. At the end of the day, they have to play. I can't go out there and throw the ball, hit the ball, and do all that stuff for them. So the more that they hold each other accountable to a standard, the better off we're going to be. So it's not necessarily me driving it as much as the kids are, but we do have kind of things that we talk about in the fall that kind of lead us throughout the whole year, whatever we're trying to accomplish. So we do that as a community and as a team more so than me just spitting out directions and then next thing I know, we've lost our way 2 weeks later. So we do it as a group to make sure that we're all pulling in the same direction.
Before we move on, let's talk about something every serious athlete needs to pay attention to: your digital footprint. Fan Nation has just released a powerful new tool to help athletes make sure their social media profiles are fully optimized and recruit ready. Today, coaches aren't just evaluating game film, they're evaluating character, leadership, and maturity online. This resource gives you a step-by-step roadmap to clean up your profiles, highlight your strengths, and avoid common mistakes that can cost opportunities. If playing at the next level is your goal, don't leave your online presence to chance. Go check it out now at fandaynation.com. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. What have you learned the most about coaching over the last 16 years, and what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out?
Not all kids are the same. You as a coach or as a player, as a person, you all have your own style, right? So I might want a team to play a certain way every year, but the problem is we can't always do that. So for me as a coach, it's more of adapting to what the kids are capable of doing. So if I have a bunch of kids who can't run, then we're going to play a different way. If we have a bunch of kids that can run, we play a different way. It's all about adapting. I think coaches forget that sometimes, that the kids are really the ones that do everything. So you can't try to mold them all into the same individual kind of mold. You want to make sure that you have multiple tools in your toolbox in order to kind of get the best out of your group, whatever that is.
Kind of expanding on that, in your own opinion, what separates a good coach from a great coach?
Ooh, it's a really good question. I think anybody that can step onto a field can be a good coach. I think if you're able to listen and kind of adapt, you can be a good coach. Great coaches are the ones that can sustain that through generations of kids. So I think a great coach is somebody that's been there 20, 25, 30 years in one location and is able to adapt to whatever situation that he's going through. And you've gone through 3 different generations of kids or 3 decades of kids. I've been really fortunate living in Orange County, California, that there are a ton of great coaches that have been here, and a lot of them were sustaining long careers of 35, 40 years. That's the thing that signifies a great coach for me, is you're able to do it for a long period of time and not have kind of any down years. Does that make sense? Of like, you're just really bad for 2 or 3 years, then you're good for 4 or 5. They've been good their whole career. That's what really makes a great coach to me. It's just longevity of kind of lasting as generations of kids come through.
What do you hope to instill? What do you want people to walk away with after being coached by you? What do you want them to learn from you?
It realistically is holding yourself accountable to a standard. That's really what we're trying to do. My biggest thing for all kids is 15 minutes early is on time is late. And I translate it into a real world job. You're constantly showing up right at 8 o'clock to start work. People are going to notice that. But if you're rolling in at 7:45 and you're prepared to clock in at 8, that's a totally different thing. So for me, that's the biggest thing, is kind of establishing some sort of standard that you're going to live by. I obviously try my best as well to live by those standards and not just preach to the kids, but I live it too. That's the big thing for me, is how are you going to be prepared for the real world? High school baseball lasts the 4 years you have. If you're fortunate enough to play 4 more in college, that's awesome. If you're even better than that and get to play a little bit professionally, that's great. But as you move up, those habits and those accountability things come back into it. So I think for me, the biggest thing is having a standard and living to that standard is really what I want these kids to understand.
What other standards are you teaching them at Northwood right now?
Yeah, so obviously 15 minutes early. That's the big one. That's number 1. Number 2, look ready and be ready. So if we have a day where we start in shorts, make sure you have a pair of pants with you. Making sure that you're holding yourself to your studies. So we talk about a lot of stuff with grades, being a very academic high school. So we talk through, We have to be good with time management, and then effectively communicating with adults. That's another big one for me. It's hard for kids to do, is to effectively communicate with a teacher or coach. Hey, I'm not feeling well. Hey, I need to go study. Hey, I need 15 extra minutes. Is there time that I can find in my day to come meet with you to do what I need to do? Those are the big four things for us, is just kind of finding those ways to be a good communicator, on time, prepared. If you can do those three things really, and then obviously holding yourself to a pretty good standard academically, which would be the fourth one, you're going to be successful anywhere you go. If it's academia, great. If it's going to get a job, that's great too. But all those things can kind of prepare yourself to move forward in your life.
Absolutely. And just sports teach you so much of that. So why do you think it's so important for kids to play sports, even just when they're younger, or maybe a year or two in high school, just anywhere in life?
Yeah, sports, not just for me as a coach, but me as a person, as a player. Good thing I played, because it really taught me that time management skill, being able to multitask, doing multiple things, obviously at one time. Where um, we seem to forget that you need to be able to do more than one thing, and then how that kind of transfers forward is obviously on the individual. But sports really do teach that time management of, I need a half hour here, I need a half hour there, I need an hour here, I need an hour there, to kind of figure out that balance of what's going to make them successful.
Absolutely. We're going to shift gears a little bit, and I want to ask about the recruiting process in
Hmm.
today's world
Hmm.
and how difficult that is right now. And what have you just seen like in high school?
Yeah. eh, you know, College baseball in particular right now has shifted in a way that's really tough for kids in high school right now. That's just the reality. Most D1 kids, you obviously need to be the top 1% of the high school realm right now, which it used to be the top 10 to 12%. It's just going up and up, partially because with NIL, obviously these schools are going to be very cautious where they're putting money, obviously. And then, as players, once they get there, they realize, okay, my value is a lot higher than I thought it was. So they end up jumping in the portal. Now a high school guy's pushed behind a 2-year kid that's played 2 years of college baseball, and they're giving him more money. I try to tell my kids all the time, I go, at this point, we have to kind of eliminate D1s unless we're kind of close to that top 2%, I'll say. Obviously, our state, it's a little bit harder just because there are so many kids that play. But it's not a bad thing to go to a D2 or D3 school. That's kind of the biggest misconception is, oh, well, I want to be on TV, right? And it's great, it's cool, but go play to D1 and you sit for 2 years. What's going to happen? Then you're going to go, okay, I need to go somewhere else. Well, that's going to be a big challenge in itself. How about go to a D2, play for a little bit, and if you're really good, jump in the portal and try to go to a D1 school. That's kind of where recruiting is for me. I talk to college coaches constantly, and it's, the small schools around here, the UCs and some of the Cal State schools are still really into the high school player. The big Power Four conference guys, you got to be really, really good to where they're going to be able to give you some money, and then obviously they're looking for you to produce once you do that. I think that's the biggest thing for me is, find a place where you're going to go play. Wherever that is the most important. But my kids at Northwood, it's a totally different discussion. We have, what are we going to do with our life after baseball? I want to make sure that the academics line up with the baseball aspirations as well. So most of my guys, it's probably low D2s or D3 schools, which are more academics, which is where they want to be, because most of them want to be aeronautical engineers or mechanical engineers or something along those lines that are going to be way more successful than possibly playing professional baseball on a slim chance. So it just depends on your individual, but make sure that as a coach, I'm having constant conversations of kind of where we're at ability wise and what we want to do kind of once we get to school. So I have to take both of those things into account. But recruiting is a lot harder than it used to be just because of NIL and the amount of kids jumping in the portal. I think there were over 4,000 baseball players last year in the portal, and that's a large number. It could be more than that. I think just seeing it right now, teams that played in regionals and super regionals, kids are leaving. So you just never know kind of what's going to happen with roster turnover at this point.
What when kids are looking for schools, and it doesn't even have to be for baseball, it could be just for academics, how do they make sure that they are going to the right place that's a good fit for them and finding that culture for them?
Yeah. I tell all the kids, they go, if you know, obviously a kid from California, say going to Colorado, right? It's always a big culture adjustment for them. I go during the wintertime, right? Go when the worst season actually is. You'll get to kind of experience what that actually is. And they always ask me, well, why would I want to do that? Well, you've got to live there in October, November, December, and it's 28 degrees or it's 50 degrees, then it's 30 and it snows. You need to understand that. So I tell them to take as many trips as they can to schools that they're actually applying to or interested in. And then narrow down your options. That's kind of the best way to do it, is go experience it for yourself. It's easy to look at a brochure and go, oh, I want to go there. But obviously for kids here, we live in 300 days of sunshine and it's 75 and everybody loves it, right? Once you leave the state, it's a little bit different. So I tell them to go take their trip at the worst time of the year. Whether it's, if you're going to the South, you want to do it in the summertime because you're going to be there in August and September when it's hot and muggy and gross. If it's the Midwest or up north, go in the wintertime when it snows. Those two things will give you realistic expectations of what the school will be like when you're there. So once we kind of cross that hurdle, then they tell me, okay, maybe I didn't want to go here, which is always the truth. And that's the thing we go through. But I tell them to visit and make sure they do their homework on their own as well. You have to live there. So be smart with your choice.
We're proud to celebrate women who lead on and off the court. Nico Stones welcomes new brand ambassador Sophie Zidell, a standout basketball player at the University of Colorado. Her exclusive edits is all about confidence, strength, and the style that moves with you. Support women in sports and shop Sophie's limited collection now at nicostones.com.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, they should have come to Colorado last summer. They would have moved, or last winter, they would have moved right away. We barely had any snow.
Yeah.
So how do athletes stand out more than others with so many people trying to get into D1 college, D2, or even D3, just keep on playing and building their baseball career? How do they stand out?
That is a very tough question to answer. And the reality is most of them don't. It sounds really bad when I say it, but the way you carry yourself, the way you conduct yourself and everything that you do, if you're on if you're at a camp for a particular school, whatever it is, coaches can all see a player in a minute and a half. That's not necessarily what they're looking at. The thing they're actually looking at the most is what happens when you mess up. What happens when things don't go your way? How are you going to react? Those are the players that stand out the most to me. I don't think ability-wise anybody is any different than anybody else for the most part. Some kids are obviously more physical, bigger, stronger, faster, obviously. But for most things, it's really how you conduct yourself. Are you able to shake off a bad play? Are you able to move on? Are you able to communicate? Are you able to do all these other things? I think those things are the things that stand out more than the playing ability at this point. I think a lot of people kind of have that misconception of, well, I need to be the best. Yeah, that's great. You could be the best, but still not fit the culture of a particular school that you're at. They're looking for intangible things that you don't even know they're looking for. The biggest thing for me, and I think when I talk to kids a lot, it's, what are you going to do when a coach isn't there? Are you going to change when a guy comes to watch you? If you're changing because somebody's coming to watch you, you're not realistic. Obviously, they're going to talk to your coach. They're going to talk to your club coach. They're going to talk to your high school coach. They're going to do their homework. And the first question I get asked a lot, what kind of kid is he? They don't even ask me if he can play or not. They can make that assessment in a 2-minute span. They ask me, what kind of kid is he? What kind of academics is he? Is he a good student? Is he a good communicator? All of those things. And obviously, for us as coaches, we can't put our necks out there if you're a bad kid or if you're not coachable or anything like that. We don't want to kind of ruin our relationship with coaches that we have. So, hence why it goes back to those 4 things I talk about with my kids of the accountability to a standard. You don't change when somebody shows up. You do the work prior. Everything will work out in your favor if you just keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. One more question before I let you go here is, now that you're leading the program at Northwood, what are your goals and expectation for the team moving forward?
Well, it depends on the year, right? So 2 years ago when I took over, it was just make playoffs, which we did, and then made a little run at it. Last year, I wasn't sure when I actually talked with you guys all the first time in, I don't know, April or so. We needed to rattle off 7 in a row to make it. We ended up winning those 7 in a row, which was amazing in itself, and then found our way in the playoffs and won a playoff game. It's hard to say what a year-to-year expectation is because a year-to-year team changes. So our goal is always to make the playoffs here, which is an accomplishment in its own right, just with the amount of players and schools and things in the state. But we kind of make that determination probably in April. We don't really talk about it until then. We kind of take the first half of our season before we hit spring break is one half, and then the back half of the year is a different thing. And we kind of assess what our goals are. We don't want to make sure that we're putting up too many unrealistic expectations of, oh yeah, we got to win it all. Yeah, it's great, but we've got to be realistic with kind of where we're going. I think as a school, I think we're headed in the right direction. Back-to-back playoff appearances. Obviously, this school has also had a big track record of making the playoffs. But it's always kind of getting through that second, maybe third round of our playoffs. That's always the toughest part. So we kind of look at it, make it first, and then once we make it, get past the first one, second one, third one, so on. But we don't sit there and try to have any super lofty expectations of anything more than just kind of make it. And if we do, great. And then if we don't, then we assess kind of why we didn't and then kind of go from there. So luckily for me, I haven't had to reassess because we've made it twice. So we're just kind of hoping to repeat what we did last year, just a little bit more in the win column compared to the loss column. But every year has a different kind of outlook to it just based on our team.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we look forward to, good luck, next year. We look
Thank
forward
you.
to keeping an eye on you guys and everything.
Yeah.
But where can people find you online or otherwise, even just the school page or school?
Yeah. So you can always go to the Northwood High School website, our athletics tab. I'm right there. My email is my school email, which is benjaminowens@iusd.org. Obviously, I cannot actually currently answer any of my school emails because we're on dead period. So that's kind of a bummer. Instagram, I don't even know my handle off the top of my head. So that tells you a lot right there. I'm halfway on social media, but not all at the same time because you don't want to fall into reading too many negative comments about yourself. But going through the school website, my stuff's right there. My info is all there on the school website. If anybody has questions they want answered from this podcast or anything else, reach out to me via email. I'm more than willing to help anybody and everybody that's looking for some help.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ben, and joining us here on the talk.
No worries.
And again, we will keep an eye on you and we'll be posting this soon. And yeah, it was great. It was great chatting with you.
You too. Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all for having me on.
Of course. Have a great rest of your night.
You too. Thank you.